Welcome to the Craft of Coaching podcast, where we dive into what it truly takes to become a skilled, confident life coach. I'm your host, Kate, head of the CLCC, or Certified Life Coach Collective, an ICF-Accredited Level 1 coach training program. We combine courage, coaching, and community to offer you more than just a training program, but a life-changing experience where you use your own personal transformation as the learning ground for supporting your clients. On this podcast, we explore how you can use coaching skills to support your clients or expand your own growth, all grounded in evidence-based coaching practices. Learn more about our program and get free resources for becoming a life coach at teamclcc.com. And now, here's today's episode. Hey everybody, we're going to talk today about managing your schedule. But it's important for you to know that when I originally recorded this, it was during the COVID times. So you will hear some mention of that at some point during this episode. Nonetheless, I decided not to completely re-record this episode because I felt like, look, if you can figure out how to manage your schedule during the COVID times, you can do it anytime. So let's dive in. First thing I'd like to talk about, that is a time management strategy, and I will die on this hill, which is kind of funny given what the topic will be, but I sincerely like confronting with kindness. Let's cut the BS. Let's get down to it. If you're not doing this, you have no hope of managing your schedule. So stop and make sure you do this. Self-care. Self-care. For me, I'm and in this episode, I'm going to talk a lot about just things that I'm noticing myself doing, and things that I'm monitoring, that I'm bringing my present conscious awareness to, which means that I'm not always perfect at it, but I'm doing the best I can. So self-care for me looks like monitoring and bringing my conscious awareness to how often I'm using my phone. That's top of the list. There's ample research showing that the more you are on your phone, the more likely you are to be anxious and depressed. We do not need more things, my friends, making us anxious and depressed these days. Okay? We got enough. All right? We're dealing with enough. It's a pandemic. So you got to put down your phone. Like, you really got to put down your phone more. Now, okay, you're listening to this podcast probably on your phone right now. What I mean is looking at your phone, the constant looking at your phone. When your phone has a purpose, like you need to have a phone call with somebody, you need to listen to a podcast, things like that. That's a little bit different than mindless scrolling. What you're trying to get away from is mindless scrolling. I actually have an entire Your Courageous Life episode on that podcast about unhooking from your phone. And I talk about things in that podcast like, don't keep your phone in your bedroom. And people are like, well, but it's my alarm clock. Look. Go buy a little $20 alarm clock off of Amazon if that's what it takes for you to get your phone out of your bedroom. Okay? Or, I mean, my alarm clock, I kind of have two in a sense. I have a sunrise alarm clock that puts light in the room. And then I also have a little vibration alarm that is on my Fitbit. So I don't have to have my phone in my room for my little wrist to start vibrating when my alarm is going off in the morning. And an alarm clock that is sitting on a bedside table, still a completely legitimate thing to have in life. If that's what it takes to make sure that you don't get into the thing where you're looking at your phone before bed, scrolling, waking up in the middle of the night to go pee, and then you realize, oh, I have notifications, all that. No mindless scrolling on your phone. You do not have to be aware of the news headlines at all times of day or see everything that somebody's posting on social media. You just don't. And it's going to erode your sense of well-being. Another thing, consistency in your schedule. So going to bed and waking up at relatively the same time. And that's been one I've needed to monitor too, because when I have a hard day and I haven't gotten any relief, because, in my air quotes, normal life, my pre-COVID life, I have pretty normal working hours. I have childcare. My husband, same thing, like, because we have childcare, my kid's in school all day, and he's working normal hours. It's like, he's not at capacity with what he feels like he can take on, and most of the time, neither am I. So we can do things like if we have, if I have a bad Wednesday, I can turn to him and be like, I just have had such a stressful day. Tonight, can you just handle the bedtime routine? But of course, right now, both of us are feeling at capacity pretty frequently. So there's a real temptation to want to be like, oh, I'll just stay up a little later and watch another episode of Fixer Upper. Fixer Upper is my happy place, by the way. If you didn't know that about me at this point in my life, Fixer Upper is my happy place, and I have no shame. And yes, I've been to the silos in Waco since moving to Texas, wearing my mask, I will have you know. But yes, I've seen them, and it's just absolutely adorable, and can't wait till post-COVID. I want to make another pilgrimage. All right. Hopefully you're laughing with me. Okay, but back to the self-care thing. Self-care is checking in with friends. Self-care is reading books that have no purpose to them. So books that, maybe it's fiction, but not always reading another self-improvement book, not always reading only books that are about social justice or economic reform or. Those books are important to read. I'm not knocking them. I'm saying have something you can read that is not in the betterment of life or self-edification realm. Self-care is exercise. Cannot say this enough. Cannot say this enough. And people get this idea in their head like, exercise, I'm too stressed out. I don't want to. Well, the less you exercise, the less you want to do it. And exercise is correlated with reductions in depression and anxiety. This is clinical research, and it does not take a lot. If you do want a book to read on the topic of it not taking a lot, there's an actual book called The First 20 Minutes that's about the research into exercise science and its effect on your physical and mental health. And it actually only takes about 20 minutes a day. So can you go on a walk? Can you go on a walk? That's all we're looking for here. You don't have to decide that you're going to run a marathon unless that lights up your life. You don't have to be a CrossFitter. You don't have to be a triathlete. You don't have to go and, do some badass thing that's going to get made into a documentary. It's just, are you walking? And if you can't walk, are you raising your arms over your head? Can you ride a stationary bike? Can you do some yoga? It's YouTube, people. There's ways to find all of these things. So managing your schedule starts with self-care. I don't want to get too off the rails or too far from that point. You will not feel like you can manage your schedule unless you're getting self-care. Let me say that one more time, because I feel like that is the mic drop that is needed right here. If you're not feeling a mic drop with me making that statement, I need you to feel the mic drop because it's that important. You will not feel like you are able to manage your schedule if you do not have self-care. Like, even if you are hitting every appointment on the minute, even if every single thing on your to-do list is done, if you are neglecting self-care amid all that, you will not feel like you are managing your schedule ever until you have dialed in on your self-care. It often takes a lot less than we think it does. That is the other thing I've learned. And this is part of the whole 20 minutes of exercise. 20 minutes of getting your heart rate up will do so much for your cortisol levels, for balancing hormones, for well-being. It improves your sleep. Like, so many things. We're talking about 20 minutes. 20 minutes. So what are the things that you need to do to get some level of self-care? So that's thing number one that I'm going to focus on, because I think self-care tends to come last for people, when in fact it is the pin upon which all of these other things that we're wanting to feel better about is dependent. It's like, if you are not getting that self-care dialed in, you just aren't going to feel like you can manage your schedule. So that needs to be priority number one. Now, I know this comes into managing your schedule. The essence of the stress people feel is, but how? I don't have the time. Well, life is handing you a divine opportunity right now, my lovely friend, to start cutting away the things that do not light you up, and or do not have to be done. As I sit here right now, my desk is covered with different papers and drawings my daughter has given me, headphones, a stapler, a deck of cards, a little container of baby wipes. Little known fact, dust gets picked up so much better with baby wipes than with just like a Kleenex. That's why baby wipes. My water bottle. A lot of different Post-its. Let's see, I'm like moving my head around here. Scissors and stacks of paper all over the place. Now, you didn't know that, did you? Listening to this podcast when it started. Here's the thing. A perfectly organized desk, house, home, perfectly folded laundry, always cleaning your shower once a week, all those things, not a requirement for living a good life. If ever there was a moment to not need to have your house dialed in, this is the moment, people. Here it is. Here it is. So the things that are most important to you have to take a higher priority than the things that are less important to you. My higher priority, the thing that not only gives me a ton of joy, but also supports the work I want to do in the world, is recording this podcast episode right now. My desk being a mess doesn't give me a lot of joy to have a clean desk. It's nice. I like it. I'll probably clean it up a little bit later today, but it is not a prerequisite. So what are the things? And it's going to be some confronting with kindness and some getting down to that truth, and no BS. And I refuse to tell myself a lie anymore. It's going to be all that good stuff. What needs to be cut away? What needs to be cut away for you to really feel like you are in charge of your schedule right now? And if your head goes to, well, Kate, I'd kind of like to cut away that 20 minutes exercise you were talking about. Come on. You've worked with clients before and you know how that goes. What needs to be cut away that is not adding to your life or your vision or your purpose in some significant way? Having your laundry all folded, having your house perfectly organized, making every single meal from scratch. It's like, this might be the moment. Frozen pizzas, cereal for dinner. You are going to be okay. All right, next thing I'm going to talk about. So 1, self-care, okay? 2, how are you mentally managing your overwhelm? How are you mentally managing the overwhelm? So often, overwhelm is experienced by people as this feeling that comes over you that if it comes over you, you have no control over. That's often how people feel about the overwhelm that they're experiencing. But just because it feels that way doesn't mean that that's accurately all that is available to you. Doesn't mean it's a fact. There are interventions that you can offer to yourself with overwhelm. You can decide that every single time you start to feel really, really overwhelmed, you're going to take a walk. You can decide every time you feel really, really overwhelmed that you're going to meditate. And guided meditation counts, by the way. I am a meditation teacher, by the way, for the Simple Habit app. You can find me there if you look for Kate Swoboda or Kate Courageous. And that app is free. So, you could decide, okay, I'm spinning in overwhelm, stop, pause, turn on a guided meditation. Doesn't have to be mine. Any guided meditation will work. You could feel your overwhelm and decide, stop, pause, I sit down and I start immediately journaling, writing down everything. You could feel your overwhelm and it could be stop, pause. Maybe you're a visual processor, or you process more visually. The thing that's coming to me is this visual of being alone in my apartment for the rest of my life, and COVID is, I'm just completely isolated. It's like, no. Go ahead and imagine your apartment. What's the opposite of that? I'm just going to visualize. What's the opposite of that? I don't know what the thing is going to be for you. I only know that you are the one empowered to have the intervention. And if you don't feel empowered to have the intervention yourself, that is also okay. You're a coach. I'm sure you know some life coaches. How can they help you with an intervention? Can you swap a session with people? So how are you mentally managing the overwhelm with interventions as they come up? And I'll share for myself that a big thing I've been doing is ruthlessly questioning stories of limitation. And I mean ruthless, as in there is no story of limitation too big or too small or in between for me to question. So when my head goes to, well, yeah, I can't do that right now. It's like, wait, hold on a minute. Is that really the truth? It's like this little voice in me that's like, hold on a minute. Get back here. Hold on a minute. Is that really true? Oh, it's just, nobody's going to be interested in that right now. If I have a topic maybe that I want to write about. Well, hold on a minute. Is that true? Well, I just can't do that right now. Hold on a minute. Is that true? Is it true that I can't? And those interventions, it takes time, it takes practice, but it absolutely adds up. And it takes less time and less practice than you might think, kind of like exercise. This is why habit formation is my jam. I find, I talk about in my book, The Courage Habit, habits, and I'm trying to break them down for the reader so that people really get on a reductive and simplified level how much habits influence your life. Habits influence so much of your life, you guys. Habits influence so much of your life. And they run on autopilot all over the place. They are behavioral responses, psychological responses, and they fly on autopilot, and we assume that that's the way it is. And then it's like, unless we are doing some kind of conscious work to go, hold on a minute. What else do I want to choose here? What else do I want to believe here? What else do I want to create here? How else do I want to be living life here? Unless we do that, they run on autopilot. But habits and paying attention to them and being willing to interrupt habits, that is empowerment. And managing your schedule is about feeling in charge of your schedule and your time. So when that voice comes to you and says, well, I don't have time. Nope. That's the ruthless reframing of a story of limitation. I don't have time is a story of limitation. Will I make the time, or will I choose not to engage with that thing? Because if there is something I really, really want to do in life, as far as I'm concerned, those are the options. If I really want to do it, if I'm actually very passionate about doing it, am I going to A, make the time for it, or B, decide actually that isn't the thing that I really, really want to be doing with my life? Valid choices to make. So, how are you mentally managing things? When the overwhelm and the stress come up, how are you mentally managing it? And really questioning that story, because it is a story around not enough time. And don't get me wrong, sometimes this means really tough choices. There are times when my daughter wants me to spend more time playing with her, and I'm sitting here pulled in this place of what I want for her because I love her, and what I know she needs, which is more contact because she's an only child and she isn't getting time with other kids. And that's hard. And I'm trying to, it almost feels like a triangle sometimes of being pulled in these three different directions of what I want for her, what I know she needs, and then what I know I need when I'm at capacity, or when there's something that I need to attend to other than being with her. So what I'm trying to say ultimately is that there is no metric or rubric or like flow chart of if yes, then this, if no, then that you will have to manage these situations. But when that voice comes up that says, I don't have time, notice how that shuts down all the other options. When you go into the overwhelm of I don't have time, when your kids, your job, and your own personal needs are all feeling like they're in conflict, that takes you out of problem solving for how you could find the time, delegate, come up with a creative solution. And it also has you feeling like crap. And who needs that right now? How about a whole bunch of nobody? Okay, so we've got self-care. Self-care, important, very important for managing your schedule. Mentally managing the stress and overwhelm, very important for managing your schedule. And next thing I'm going to talk about is, to me, this was like the most genius solution / intervention for time management ever when I figured it out. With coaching, with scheduling your coaching clients on weeks and off weeks. When I figured this out, it was like, yes, yes, yes. Okay, so you're a coach and you are trying to hold your client sessions with your clients, but you also have admin and marketing things that you need to do. Admin things like billing, sending someone a follow-up email. Maybe you told a client, I can't remember the name of that book, but I'll look it up and I'll send the title to you. That's like the admin-y kind of stuff. And then there's the marketing pieces. And the marketing pieces are creating content for your website, showing up on social media, networking with people, reaching out to decision makers at companies, whatever your marketing model is. And it can feel very overwhelming, or I think it does. I think it feels really overwhelming to try to do both on the same day. So if I were to wake up and then I were to have a 9 a.m. coaching session followed by a 10:30 networking meeting with a decision maker at a company who's considering having me come in to work with their org, followed by lunch, followed by trying to invoice people, followed by, that is completely overwhelming to me anyway. Now, somebody else wants to do it differently. Obviously, you do you. But here's what I suggest: on weeks and off weeks. So what I figured out, and I started doing this like 10 years ago, is scheduling my clients, like opening up my time blocks the second week and the fourth week of the month only for sessions. Or maybe I'd do the first week and the third week. But when I scheduled my time that way, what happens is all your clients book during that second week, fourth week, or first and third week, okay? And then that leaves you whatever weeks you're off of coaching for all the admin and marketing stuff. And that to me is just like when I figured that out, I was like, yes, this is so great, because I found it more overwhelming to have my day constantly getting broken up into little chunks with different types of things pulling at my energy. With COVID happening right now, and with an awareness that some of you are working full-time jobs while you build your coaching businesses on the side, maybe you have more flexibility in your schedule to do things like that than ever before. Maybe you have less, however. So maybe your thing is going to need to be, I have weekends when I coach. So I only coach on the weekends. I don't know what it would be to feel into what kind of schedule would feel best for you. Literally, I'd say sit down and feel into it. So sit down, close your eyes, start thinking about, okay, I've got time for me, time with my family, time for my job, and time with my clients / business that I'm building. In what ways could I set things up so that everything gets a little bit of breathing room around it? So maybe that's going to be like you coach only evenings and then you're completely off for the weekend. So maybe you'll start thinking, visualizing, feeling into this idea of, right now I've been doing this thing for a couple months now where I'm like cramming my coaching sessions onto the weekends, and I'm working all week at my salary job, cramming sessions in on the weekends. It doesn't feel good. What if I just did a couple sessions during the week, like my lunch hour, and then the weekends were just completely open and I had no appointments? If you sit down and you visualize something like that and you feel that would feel really good, then you know. So there are all kinds of different things you play with. I mean, like full transparency, my kiddo is getting more television time than she's ever gotten in her life. If there is any show on Netflix, Amazon Prime, or elsewhere that has any educational value whatsoever, I assure you right now, I know what it is. And it's on like a list in the kitchen. So, that's kind of like school right now for her. And is it ideal? No, but neither is a pandemic. And there's all these other pieces that are in there too. And it is what it is. It's not going to be the ideal right now. Just like the state of my house is not my ideal right now. A lot of things are not my ideal right now, but I'm very, very clear that if I am going to manage my schedule at all, if I'm going to keep us as a secure family unit, emotionally, financially, all of those pieces, I'm going to need to spend some time on self-care. I'm going to need to manage the overwhelm. I'm going to need to set up my schedule in a couple different ways. So I offer to you the idea of the off and on coaching schedule, however that might look. If it's 1 week on, 1 week off. And during the weeks when you don't have the coaching clients, those are the weeks when you get the admin and the marketing things done. And when you know that you're going to have that time for those things during a certain slot of time, it makes it a lot easier because you can say to your clients things like, if a client says to you, oh, I haven't gotten my bill yet for this month, you can say, oh yeah, I'm going to take care of that next week. I'm doing all my billing next week. If you are working with a client, you say, I can't remember the name of that book, but I'll get it to you. You can tell the client, I probably won't be able to email you this week, but I for sure will next week. And then you know when you're going to be doing that thing. Okay. Self-care, managing the overwhelm mentally, having a plan for how you're doing that. On weeks, off weeks, or on and off, some kind of on and off cycle for how you're managing your time. Fourth thing that is, for me, the best is batch processing. Batch processing is essentially taking a category of tasks and doing everything related to that category of tasks until it's complete so that you can put it down. Because what I noticed was that I felt most stressed when I felt like there was another thing I had to get done related to a certain task. So some examples of this could be, if you know that your website needs some maintenance upgrades, some sales pages need some work, all of that. For me personally, and I think this is probably true for a lot of people, it feels way more stressful to be aware of that in the back of your mind and then trying to find a little half hour there to work on it and then another little half hour there and then another little, that feels more stressful than just going, here is 90 minutes. I sit down for 90 minutes and I work on nothing but these sales pages and this website maintenance until the 90 minutes is up or until I'm done. I don't stop and check my phone. I don't take a phone call during this time. I don't pause to check email. I don't go run to the grocery store real quick. It's like, this is my block. I am batch processing this task right now. So batch processing can apply to like one task that needs a lot of focused attention that falls into a category, and that would be the example of website maintenance. Batch processing can fall into repetitive tasks that don't take a lot of time, but that you just want to get them like kind of one and done. Email. This is my time to go through my inbox and I'm done with my email and then that's it. Billing. This is my time to sit down and invoice everyone. And there are a lot of things that you can batch process if you just simply have the same due date. So telling your clients, for instance, I always invoice on the 15th of the month. Then you get out of that thing where you're trying to remember that client A always gets a recurring invoice on the 10th and client B always gets it on the 7th and client C always gets it on the 22nd. You're out of that mode. I reply to emails every day at 3:00. That's another example of batch processing. There's a set time when I take care in one batch of this type of task, whether it's a repetitive task or whether it falls into a category. This is my day when I do all of my scheduling for my podcast. This is my day when I do all of my notes for my podcast. Now, you can take a fairly large task that'll take quite a bit of time and batch process it. So that's happening for me right now. I have this week my chunks of time set for recording new Craft of Coaching podcast episodes. Separately, I will have a batch of time set for creating the graphics for those episodes and the iTunes descriptions, the content descriptions for these episodes. I will not do all of those things in one day, but this is my week for doing everything related to the Craft of Coaching podcast. And the thing I like about batch processing and designating this week as the week when I am working on the Craft of Coaching podcast is that mentally, a week from now, as I've looked at each piece and gotten it done, I'll just be able to go, oh yeah, there's no mental space that's kind of hanging out there going, oh, but you still need to get that done. It's like, no, everything for this season of the Craft of Coaching is getting handled this week. This is the week. And by the way, in case any of you are kind of like, really? She does her own da-da-da-da-da? She doesn't have help? I have a really great team, and yes, they do help, but there are certain things that I've found are inefficiencies. So for instance, if, me writing up the notes that go with each Craft of Coaching episode, it's faster for me to do that than it is for me to pay someone to listen to the entirety of the episode I've just recorded and then write up notes, especially when they might not capture the things that to me are the essence of what I truly am trying to say that I want to go into the notes. So there are things like that it's faster for me to do it. So this could be another way of thinking about batch processing. What are those things that you do them, you get them all done within a set time frame, but the Craft of Coaching podcasts episodes that I'm recording this week and all the things I'm preparing for this week, they will not populate or go out until much later. So another thing that I really like about batch processing is that you set a time to get something done and you're not running right up to the deadline. You're not running right up to the very end of when something has to be done or has to be in. You're going, okay, I know that this piece deserves time and attention, and I'm going to make sure it happens. And here is my place where I'm going to make sure it happens. Batch processing in the past, I've also done around things like socializing with people. If I know I have 4 different friends that I haven't had a chance to get in touch with, and I value these people and I love them and I want to know what's up in their lives, hey, let's all get together for dinner at this one restaurant because I love all of you. I want to see all of you. I might not have 4 different spots in my schedule. This is, of course, pre-COVID, but I might not have 4 different spots in my schedule. I used to do the same thing with play dates with my daughter. It's like if we had multiple different moms I was trying to connect to get a play date together with, it's like, oh, you know what, we had a plan with this other friend to meet up for a play date on Saturday. It's at a public park. It's not like it's at their private home. You want to come? Why don't you meet up too? And then maybe you can meet another mom, and then maybe everybody's kids, doesn't work all the time. Not everybody is quite the right mix, but that's another place where you can do it. I tend to do a lot of batch processing with personal finances, tend to do a lot of batch processing with cleanup, like this desk I'm mentioning. When I clean up my desk, it will not be just cleaning up my desk. It will be, okay, this is my time. I'm going to go clean up my desk, going to go do my laundry, going to go sweep this, going to go wipe this down, stuff like that. So I will do all of that in one batch, and it becomes about more focused, intentional, present time. So let's make this actionable because you are a coach, so you know the power of taking action. First thing, self-care. Where do you need to get your self-care in alignment? Where are you out of integrity around self-care? And if you only have one place where you can really be in alignment right now, sleep. And if you're like, oh, well, my sleep's already done, then cool, you pick another place, but sleep is the first place I'm going to go. Find a way to get in integrity with yourself around sleep. Starting your bedtime routine earlier, putting the phone in another room, really consistent sleep schedules. Don't binge watch before bed. Don't watch really stressful shows before bed. My goodness, the couple months of my life when I was watching Homeland before bed. Oh, no, that show will stress you out. Fixer Upper, that's the one I recommend. So what are the things you need to do to get sleep nailed down? And if sleep is already nailed down for you, then great. Look at exercise, or look at sugar and substances. Look at, not isolating. Look at some other aspect of self-care. 2, mentally managing the overwhelm. What is your thing that you are going to put into action starting now, that when overwhelm comes up for you, I do this? When overwhelm comes up for me, I go sit down and listen to a guided meditation. I do this thing Kate's talking about with going, hold on a minute, is that really true? I call a friend. I do a yoga pose, whatever it's going to be. Okay, so mentally managing the overwhelm. Make it actionable. Decide now. What is your thing you're going to do? Decide now, because this is your life we're talking about. 3, can you have on-off cycles with things, with tasks? And they can be on-off cycles where you are in an on cycle with something so that you can get a break from something else. They could be on-off cycles where you have a total break when you're in the off cycle. It could be a balancing, how can you do an on-off cycle? Can you get all of your meetings scheduled during certain times? Can you get all of your kids' stuff scheduled during certain times? I'm even personally looking at doing an on-off week type schedule with homeschooling my daughter as we go into fall. I'll report back if I can remember to about how it's going, but it's just really clear to me that some kind of homeschooling activity absolutely every single day amid a pandemic and all the other things that are going on, it's just not realistic. So probably what it's going to have to be is like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or a Tuesday, Thursday, or making sure I get an hour a day in every day for the first and the third week of the month, and then the second and the fourth week, like something like that. I'm looking at all those kinds of options. I'm going to be playing with it a little bit. So on-off cycles. Last thing, batch processing. Because if you can batch process a task and then allow yourself space to just put it down and not have to do anything more with it, it mentally frees you up so that you're not like, oh, but then there's this other piece that I didn't really tuck into place and I should have. And it's like, no, this is my time to sit down and do this thing. And nothing else interrupts during that time. I have heard that there is some research out there showing that people work most effectively in 90-minute blocks with breaks. Try it out. I have also read before, this is back when I was a classroom teacher, that it's something like you retain something like 80% of everything you learn in the first 30 minutes, and then it drastically drops off after that. So some people recommend a 30-minute break, or a break every 30 minutes. So maybe it would be that. I don't know. There are a lot of different ways that people can manage time, and they are always going to be some parts emotional and some parts strategic. So if you were to look at your life right now in this season where things feel really intense, and you were to say, I am the one in charge of my life, and that starts here and now, and I'm going to start doing XYZ, how would you finish that sentence? What would change? How would you bring self-care to the forefront? How would you manage the overwhelm on a mental level? How would you find ways to not always have to be producing, doing, finishing tasks on cycles and off cycles? And how would you give yourself, really, I think, the gift of completion with batch processing so that you can just say, I'm done with that task and there is nothing more I have to attend to with that. And it feels good to just set it down. All right, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Before you go, would you help us out and take a moment to give us a rating in iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you're listening? It really helps us get the word out to other listeners. And before you go today, would you like free resources to support your coaching journey? Whether you're considering becoming a coach or you want advanced coach skills training, access our coaching resource library at teamclcc.com. Again, that's teamclcc.com. Can't wait to connect with you. And again, thanks for listening.